over here with the Spanish Civil War, Mexico, a publication that Alexander Berkman did in San Francisco, and then those fold into things that I've been involved in the Bay Area, anarcho-cycling, critical mass kinds of stuff, and Occupy. Also kind of inheriting from them are some concepts from anarchism around beauty being in the street, the general strike, which also were inherited by Occupy. Over here we have struggles, other struggles in other countries, the Apartheid Museum in South Africa, anti-apartheid kind of things. The next one is based on the guy with the flowers in his hand. That's based on a photo that Susan Merzelis took in El Salvador during the Civil War there. And then Bansky took it and put flowers in place of a Molotov cocktail. And then Susan sued Bansky, or no, actually it was someone else before Bansky. Banksy. Yeah. But she filed suit about that over copyright, and there's a whole long tail, and I've had lots of discussions with her about the copyright the implications of using copyright for that reason. And then that flows over into the anti-globalization movement over there with Seattle in 1999 and Caracas, and that goes into some of the other like Brazilian anti-imperialist things and anti-capitalist things. And then kind of in the middle here we have this kind of fork with some anti-Olympic things and the Greek Revolution, or the Greek demonstrations that kind of predated Occupy, and kind of moving into here. And then over here we have kind of more anti-imperialist, pro-co-op, and then moving into radical ecology there. Okay, so that's that. Then over here, this is media. Okay, so we start out with some early media. This is something that my wife brought me about a month ago in Brazil. She was in the Northeast looking at petroglyphs and doing conservation work on petroglyphs from pre-Columbian, prehistory kinds of things, and conservation work on those. We then kind of move into international work on film and video conservation, and then moving kind of into other kind of film, archival film things, the Racine Festival, which I've participated in a few years in Brazil. Moving into the American Museum of the Moving Image. Natalia gave me that shirt. And then into more alternative media, Paper Tiger, and then kind of moving into populist attempts to deal with media. So we have Home Movie Day, we have this kind of anarchist radio, we have the Orphans Film Symposium, which is now at NYU thanks to Dan Strebel, and then that kind of continues on the back wall, including a tribute to our colleague who got hit by a car and killed about 8 months ago, Robert Sklar, a film professor at NYU. Then we have our media images. We have the kind of Warhol-esque television monitor. We have the Howdy Doody kind of thing. One of my more recent acquisitions is the gray shirt with Mickey Mouse and Ronald McDonald, and in between is the woman from Vietnam who was burned by the napalm. Now, I got this, what's interesting, I got this at, there was an anti-globalization, where there was a world summit for the environment in Rio about a month ago, and there was also an anti-globalization thing in Rio at the same time, so I got it there. But the interesting thing is, I went to American Library Association, which was meeting at Disneyland a couple of weeks ago, and I wore that, and I went down to my hotel to ask something from someone behind the counter, young guy, early 20s, and he said, "Wow, that's a cool shirt." And then I said, "Yeah, isn't it?" And he goes, "Well, I know the guy on the right and the guy on the left, but who's the one in the middle?" Whoa. And I said, "Well, you know, you're probably too young to remember, but this woman was burned by napalm, and it was a very iconic image." And the guy standing behind me in line says, "Oh yeah, and they just found her and did an interview with her. I saw that." Wow. You know, and so we all start talking about it. And then the guy behind the counter, the young guy, he says, "Oh, so I guess they must have flown her from Vietnam to the United States to get her photo taken with the two people who I know."
Really?
Sure. It's like, I mean, think about the layers of that, from, you know, Photoshop to what? There is a Ronald McDonald and a Mickey Mouse, and they live in Disneyland. I mean, it boggles the mind.
It's like what happens when you win the Super Bowl? I'm going to Disneyland. What happens when you get napalm? I'm going to Disneyland.
No, not everyone. Gee, I'm sorry. The one next to it, which you probably can't see because the hanger's a little bad, it's barcodes which are morphing into people marching. The one after that is something a good friend of mine was sued for libel by McDonald's for handing out leaflets in front of a McDonald's in London, and it became this case called the McLibel case. There's a movie about it. There's a book about it. Anyway, it was the longest-running court case in British history over him libeling McDonald's. So that's a McDonald's, and then the rest of these are at the bottom two there with the television set. The one on the right is just basically tune off your television. Yo no hablo español. Does anyone want to translate that?
Speak Spanish.
Does Spanish?
Like brain, no, cerebro. Wouldn't that be
something? Yeah, fry your brain or something.
Well, yeah,
I speak Spanish. You want me to?
Yeah.
Enciende el cerebro. Turn on your brain.
Turn on your brain. Okay. Right. Now the one next to it though is I do know. This is from in Brazil. By far, the largest and richest television network is called Globo. They have, 60% of the market share, something like that. And so this is saying no to globalization, and that's the symbol of globalization. Okay, then over here we have my various art related shirts. One says, art has always been contemporary. Right. Like that. Yeah. And then that's hanging next to a Leonardo. The one you may not recognize at all, there's one in Brazilian that is based on this Brazilian graffiti artist. Then the rest of this whole line here is my library, from my library collection. By the way, this is only about 5% of my t-shirts.
Oh my God.
I have about 2,400 t-shirts. So here we have, of course, some of us don't even know what this thing is.
I know. That's my favorite. That is absolutely my favorite.
Right. So, and this Karen is wearing.
Oh, I love it.
Some of you might be very interested in this. This was done by my friend James Turner from Montreal. It is based on the map of the Montreal subway, but taking that map and substituting for each of the stops a type of metadata and how these different types of metadata link to each other. So you might want to look at this closely. This is part of a collection that my students did for me. This was part of, I've been working with about 20 students and recent graduates for the last year on, we call ourselves activist archivists, and we're working on archiving the media related to the Occupy movement. But they each made, I came into a meeting one day and they're all wearing t-shirts that they made up themselves, like as a present to me. So this is one that has Mickey Mouse, and here lies the Commons, you know, like the Commons is dead. And
Mickey at the top.
Yeah. So, and then other, you know, we fight for the users, I read banned books, librarians are libertarian, independent, bold, revolutionary, adventurous, renegade, individualist, autonomous, nonconformist.
We all do that.
So these are our archives and historical societies, leading the library, and then ending with Laura Hastings' quote, which is paradise. I've always imagined paradise at some point in life. And then kind of finally, about 1 minute. So, and finally, up here, we just have my miscellaneous kind of fun comic t-shirts. The one on the right is in Portuguese. This is a saying in Portuguese. If life gives you lemons, make a caipirinha. Right? Right? I mean, some things like translate culturally very well. And then one of my favorite that I wear to family affairs is the first and the second one. The first one being traditional values with blockheads and anything. And the second one is called Adult Children of Normal Parents. And see how crowded that is.
I like the basic difference.
Okay, so we're going to be doing the cake in another minute. I just want to make a couple announcements before the cake. So, first of all, today is not my birthday. I'd like to confess that today is not my birthday. Today is the birthday of Buenaventura Durruti, who that T-shirt, the first T-shirt here is. It is Durruti's birthday. It is also Woody Guthrie. Yep. Today would be Woody Guthrie's 100th birthday if he were still alive. So my birthday is not until Tuesday. But also while we're talking about famous people, I'd also like to just mention that a colleague of mine from NYU died the night before last. He's, in a sense, the father of alternative media. A guy named George Stoney, who's just an amazing person. He was 96 years old. He taught this last spring. Wow. And he's an amazing person. He started out making films of black women in the South, midwives helping give birth to white women's babies, which is now on the National Registry. Dan?
Yes.
It's on the National Registry.
National Film Registry, yes. All My Babies.
All My Babies.
And then he went back 50 years later and interviewed all of the babies that he could find who she had delivered. Made All My Babies 2.
But George has been really inspirational for people involved in independent media. And he, I mean, one of the things that he's always said is that he felt from the very beginning that the people who he was filming should in fact be telling their own stories rather than having an outsider telling the stories, and that it was just, and that now that is possible because we all have devices and access to them that we did not have when he was making it. So just some memory of George.
So we are going to sing Happy Birthday to Howard and celebrate with cake. So if people could join me in Happy Birthday. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Howard. Happy birthday to you.
I wanted to just say how important it is to Howard that everybody came today. And I'm Howard's sister, and from everyone I've met, most of you who I don't know, every conversation has been how much Howard has meant to you all and how much he's done for all of you in your professions and lives. And it's really clear to me that this is a real important get-together, and I wanted to see if anybody wanted to say anything overall. Feel free or come up here or whatever. Anybody would like to say anything?
And I'd just like to give special thanks to people who have helped me. Some of you know that I've had really tough health problems the last couple weeks, but thanks so much to Nancy Goldman, who took me out to help do some of the stuff for this, to my cousin Ellen Licht, who spent a day with me just doing all of this, to my sister Barbara, who's been just wonderful dealing with everything, and to my stepdaughter Elisa and my wife Felicia.
Thank you
who've
all.
been helping me.
We'll be happy.
Thank you. Oh, and my mother, without whom I wouldn't be here. Yeah, do you remember that day 60 years ago?
You gave to me. Thank you, Harriet.
Okay, we have Doug here who wants to say something.
Yeah, well, Howard and I have known each other since the mid-'70s, and we're roommates in the late '70s and early '80s, and he tutored me for my GREs and probably my LSATs and my MCATs. And anytime I needed any math help, he was always there. But,
So I have this catheter in me, Doug. Can you help me remove it?
Yeah.
Okay, not in front of everyone.
You have to drop your pants. But we all love you dearly, Howie.
So, cake, everything. Anyone want to say
I'm their cousin, and I didn't even know that I was their cousin until I was probably 7 years old or something, because I grew up in Africa, and it's so complicated, but Howard came and visited my family when he was a teenager, and I think it was his first trip alone, maybe. He went to Washington, D.C., and he visited us, and here was this, I just remember my brother and I cracking up so much. He was so funny. He made us laugh constantly, and it was such a thrill that this cousin just appeared out of nowhere that we didn't even know existed. And we kind of reconnected when I was in college, and we've been just good friends since. And I just feel very lucky.
I'm
I love you.
lucky.
I just want to say, I'm one of the people here, I'm Tracy, who's studied under Howard, and
Long time ago.
But the thing that I always say when I talk about him is that I've never seen anybody work harder to make sure that his students had every opportunity to learn new things, experience new things, and I've always been impressed by that, and it has always stayed with me.
I'd just like to add never a formal student of Howard, but I have learned so much from him. Thank you for being a teacher and a hero to us all.
Yeah. Way back in the day, you know, we sort of paved the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
Yeah, Randy and I and the now departed Steve Jacobson built or put together something called Image Curator, which was the first interactive client-server image access thing. You know,
visit your web browser.
long before there were web browsers.
So we started it off.
Yeah, yeah.
So better to be second than first.
I just appreciate that Howard has demonstrated that you can wear a T-shirt anywhere, anytime. It's okay. Howard's T-shirt wearers.
There's one place where I couldn't wear a t-shirt. I'll tell a little story. I was giving a workshop for a museum conference in London, England, and I was supposed to give a full-day workshop, and they had scheduled this at a gentleman's club. And, of course, they stopped me coming in and say, no, you can't come in here without a coat and tie. And I said, I don't even own one. I can't do it. So the person who was in charge of this museum association, who was also a member of the club, tried to intervene, there was nothing he could do about it. So he sent his assistant out to buy a T-shirt, to buy a tie and a jacket, which I then agreed to wear only while walking through to the room that we were in. So there are a couple of places. Oh, the one other time that there was something like that was at the Hotel del Coronado, a museum conference where the International Conference for Hyperactivity and Interactivity in Museums. The ITIM conference.
Howard, there's one other time.
Wait. So I was with the head of that conference, David Behrman, who some of you know, and we went to dinner in the Hotel Del restaurant, and they would not serve me because I was wearing a T-shirt. And David threatened to pull his conference out of the thing.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't serve us. So they served us.
Awesome. There was one other time, Howard, when Barbara and I got married, you wore a shirt to our wedding.
Yeah, but didn't it have a tie on the? Didn't the T-shirt have a tie on it or something?
I don't remember that.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
So I have a question for
Yeah,
you. So in September, Howard is speaking at a United Nations conference on the memory of the world in the digital age. What will you wear?
Shall we vote? Is there one up here that people think I should wear?
What was this one?
I think you should wear layers and take one off.
It's interesting because I haven't thought about that, but I need to think about that really soon, because if things go as planned, I will be leaving here to go to a conference in Helsinki and then back to New York, and then I will not be back here before I go there. So, this is one of my logistics problems. I have to have the T-shirts in the right house for where I'm leaving for the next meeting that I'm going to go to, and I have my T-shirts. For those of you who don't know, there's about half of them are stored here in Berkeley. About a third of them are stored in my apartment in New York City, and the last 6 are in my wife's apartment in Rio de Janeiro. So it's like.
Sounds like she's powerful. She's limited to 24.
How the what? Oh, how did the T-shirt collection start? That's actually a good thing. The T-shirt collection really started in the 1980s, early 1980s. I was living part-time in a house with Doug Spur here, and part-time in the Haight-Ashbury, in what we call the Ashbury Street house with our printing press in the basement. And at that point in time...
on that printing press?
What?
What were you printing on that printing press?
Everything from books, Peter Plate's first few poetry books, to Process World. How many issues? We printed covers for Process. Where's Chris?
Right here.
We
at least 8 or 9.
Yeah. So to the International Blacklist, we printed the whole thing on there. All kinds of stuff, plus leaflets. The Hinckley for President poster. He's had a shot at the man. Now give him a shot at the job. Another one, another poster. Where are the Libyan hit squads when we need them? If you remember about the supposed Libyan hit squads, then you know. So there was so we printed all those things on the press, but there was a flurry of activity, particularly after. The Haight was just starting to be gentrified, and there was one like Fern Bar in the Haight, and someone threw a rock through the window of that Fern Bar, and the next day the San Francisco Examiner, in great Hearst tradition, had a headline: "Mindless thugs terrorize the Haight." Immediately after that, within a week, there were leaflets from at least a dozen different groups claiming to be the mindless thugs. And all of these were very funny, very, great situationist type humor, sarcastic about what was happening to the Haight. So that was part of this flurry of activity that included a lot of T-shirts that people were making. And so I started, seeing all these T-shirts and wearing them and collecting them, and I wasn't even I wasn't trying to collect them then, but Gene, that was the origin. You remember that time. You remember that time period well. But that was the origin of me collecting. And then probably that was 80, 81. So it was probably late 80s that I became a serious, I had a T-shirt, I had an exposition, T-shirt expo in this backyard probably around 86. So by then I was serious collecting.
Why don't you do it at the book fair?
To do the T-shirts at the book fair? I could do that.
Right, I'm going to suggest it to her.
Okay, sure. Okay, can we have...
Just a quick thing to call up the MEAP alumnae who are all here. So we're going to get a picture with you and your offspring. So I just want to say, I'm Dan Strebel. I work with Howard at NYU for the last 6 years, and he's the reason I'm there. And it all, again, goes back to the T-shirt thing. When he came to South Carolina, many people had no faith in going to anything in South Carolina. He started attending my film symposium in 2002 when NYU put out the big announcement that they had hired you to start this new program. I went online and there were all these snapshots of Howard mingling with all the media elite at NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and he was wearing the Orphan Film Symposium T-shirt. And I'm like, this guy wears T-shirts in front of the dean. I can work with this guy. It truly was part of the appeal, but it's really been great to work with someone who lives his anarchist values and teaches and works and does things collegially and uncompromising ways. So I wanted to make sure we got a picture of you with your MEAP students, and then I guess any other students, while you're standing here in a sunlit place. Yeah. Come on up here, you.